budget increase is that substantive?
It's unknown the cost of future cleanup. We hope to be able to utilize the underground tank program funds in the future for some of this work. This board reports solely to address the landscaping phase, and we do feel that with the full approval of this report that this should provide enough funding to complete the landscaping phase. We once again hope to move future cleanup out there to a different source of funding under a different work order and a different TOS.
Got it. All right, I appreciate it. At least the work will be bifurcated, different funding sources. Thank you for that clarification. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Smith. I don't really have any questions. Everything's been well explained, and I know this has been going on for a while already, right? This project, and it's come to board in different phases.
Yes, the Bureau of Engineering has been working on this project for about 15 years, a little over 15 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so then I do have a question now.
15 years?
Yeah, when do we expect to be completed with this project?
We're hopefully by next summer the park will be completed. Yes, so this site has a history. As I mentioned, the Rec and Parks purchased the property in the mid 1960s, and they started they retained consultants and started filling in the park back in the 70s and 80s, and then in about the I'm going to say around 2005, it was brought over to the Bureau of Engineering to manage, and then we've been involved since that time.
Wow. All right, so maybe when it's over and this project's completed, come to board and let us know. We can celebrate.
Definitely. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for this report. You mentioned the environmental enhancements that had to be done. Was that precipitated by a review from the LA Sanitation and Environment, LSAN, that particular recommendation?
That was per Caltrans as part of their review for the encroachment permit next to PCH.
I see. The other thing was that there was also a subsequent recommendation by community groups for Council District 11 as well, I guess, as Department of Parks and Rec. They had some recommendations as well that are being enacted here. Is that correct?
Yes, they've been very involved in the review of the design, various community meetings, meetings with Rec and Park and the Council District, a lot of involvement, a lot of iterations to the plans, trying to incorporate everybody's point of view and comments to the extent possible.
Mm-hmm. And so their recommendations are to add the pedestrian entrance. Is that correct?
Yes, we did add a pedestrian entrance off of one of the residential streets along the canyon. In the future, there's hope to have a trail from the lower part of the park over to Temescal Canyon Road. And there's also a hope to have a pedestrian bridge over Pacific Coast Highway to the beach from the park.
Now, also you mentioned a wildlife-friendly parameter fencing. Is that also a part of the recommendations for which we're going to have work towards that goal in this particular motion?
That's correct. That will be part of the landscaping phase of the project.
Okay. So this is the reason, one of the reasons, in addition to what we got requests from Caltrans from, these two recommendations summarily are the reasons for this extension and increased funding that's here in this motion. Is that correct?
That's a big part of it, correct.
Now, in the process, in terms of how we do this, this plan, when we first began to look at it, did we request or allow the community groups to get involved from the very beginning? How did they just now, in terms of their recommendations, come up with it now as opposed to when we initiated it in the very beginning in our planning process?
Yeah, the community has been involved for several years. I don't know exactly. I think around 2012, there started to be community presentations.
I
There
see.
were a lot of iterations, and you know, a lot of community events were held to get input prior to the start of the design. And then as we got through the design and near the end of the design, there were a lot of, and there were some conflicting recommendations from different community members. And there was a lot of issues with the perimeter fence. You know, how high should it be, or what type of fence should it be, and whether or not people that back up against the park should have gates accessing the park directly. So there was a lot of going back and forth on numerous things, especially the fencing and the various entrances and in all aspects of it. The community has been very involved.
I'm very glad that they're involved. I was just really exploring if, in fact, we could get them involved in the initial phases of our planning so that from the very beginning, some of the ideas that they have can be enacted. I mean, I guess better late than never.
Yeah.
But moving forward in terms of processing in the future, as we look at other communities, if we can get them in the beginning, then we can kind of be ahead of the road on this. As we look at the entry, I guess, is it called business inclusion or minority business involvement? We have, you said 24% pledge?
That's what they're pledging, 24.4% MBE and 2.27% WBE.
Okay, and so we're at the phase in this project where this is just the what they're projecting that they're going to do. We have no evidence of what they have collected in terms of minority businesses so far, or do we?
Yes, so far, based on their last invoice, they had achieved 16.74% MBE and 2.5% WBE.
Okay, so they're well on their way to what they pledged to do.
Yes.
Have we worked with this group before, or is this their first project?
We have worked with them before. This is a contract through our street improvement division. So the Marv's is somewhat new to the division I represent, but we have worked with them before. They have designed some other projects for our division in addition to other projects for the street improvement division.
What do we anticipate in terms of time period that this project will entail in terms of our educated guess about?
We're hoping that the park will be, the landscaping phase will be completed and the park open by next summer.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so very much. I appreciate your update. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis.
Thanks, Mike. Commissioner Coloso.
Thank you, President Good. I appreciate my colleagues' questions on this. Mr. Schmidt was kind enough to brief me several times on this, so I don't have any questions for him. Thank you for your presentation and for your team's work on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa.
Were those briefings like through the 80s and 90s, Commissioner Coloso?
Just yesterday and then a few months ago in January, for the record.
Thank you. So, Mr. Schmidt, just for clarity, because it sounds like I know some of the work has been done because things were moving. There's no real new construction that needs to happen. This is really about the design and landscaping, correct?
Correct. This is getting the project out to construction.
Right. Okay.
Then the BOE is going to the extent possible, lead resolve any comments or conflicts that are identified during the construction phase. We do want to have a contingency for Mars if there's something special that we can't address. The pump station, we're expecting to have maybe some specialized submittals for the mechanical systems and the electrical systems. It's just one item that we may need some support on.
Well, and I do think it's important for the public to know that BOE is absorbing some of those costs to help keep the size of the increase minimalized. Is that correct?
That is correct. Mars had proposed an additional cost of about $424,000 that we're going to do in-house to save those costs.
That's great and appreciated. So once their work is done, and I'm sorry to be a little pedestrian, if you'll forgive the word, on this, will you be coming back for more money on construction?
No, we won't come to the construction contracts being awarded through the Rec and Parks Board.
Oh, and did you already say that? If
So-
you did, I apologize.
I don't think I did, so I
Oh, okay.
apologize.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. You're a gentleman. No, you're a gentleman. No, you're a gentleman. Okay, great. Okay, so that was what I was wondering, is like, how does the actual work end up getting done? So the Rec and Parks will handle the construction. That makes sense, because this is going to be their park. Okay.
Right.
Okay, good deal. All right, I thank you. I have no further questions. Really appreciate the very thorough briefing that I got from you as well. And looking forward to seeing this finally come to fruition. And thanks to BOE for committing to absorbing some of those costs to keep the price down. That's great. So with that, Commissioner Closa, you want a motion to move this forward?
I motion. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Dr. Davis, Vice President Garcia, any concerns or objections?
No.
Concerns for me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vice President. All right, hearing no objections or concerns, the item is adopted and approved forthwith. Thank you very much, Patrick. Appreciate your time and work on it, okay?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
Thank you, too.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go to item number 11. Item number 11 is, I'm going to read the item into the record, then Dr. Campos, I know we have some public comment and also some comment that was submitted electronically. So I'll read it to the record and then let you do your thing and then we'll come back. So item number 11 is a tree removal, excuse me, citywide sidewalk repair program number 48, reconstruction of the off-grade public sidewalk, council districts 2, 4, 10, and 13. Recommending the board, 1, find that the tree removal, 1, classifies as operation, repair, maintenance, or minor alteration of existing street, sidewalk, and gutter involving negligible or no expansion of use beyond that previously existing, and does not involve the removal of a scenic resource. 2, that the action is exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 1, Category 3, existing facility sidewalk repair and maintenance of the City of Los Angeles Environmental Quality Act guidelines of 2002. And 3, that none of the exceptions to the use of a categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15300.2 of the state CEQA guidelines apply, and 2, review and approve this tree removal permit request for the removal of 6 street trees, which includes 1 bottle, 1 carrot wood, 1 California sycamore, 1 silver dollar, 1 rubber, and 1 Aleppo pine tree for the reconstruction of an off-grade sidewalk. Tree replacements are required. Dr. Campos, I know we have some speakers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. We do have 3 speakers on the line to speak on item number 11. In addition to that, we did receive 16 comments that were received through our Google email comment form through our website, and those comments were distributed to all commissioners a few minutes ago before the item was read. We will go ahead and take the first caller on the line. Caller ending in 622. Brandon, if you can go ahead and please press *6 at this time to unmute yourself, or mute your microphone, sorry. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on this item.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. My name is Brandon LaVenture, and I'm calling about the beautiful, mature Aleppo pine at 1437 Bates Avenue, which shelters the balcony of my apartment and has been tagged for removal. I could talk for a while about the outstanding qualities of the tree and the many decades of Los Feliz history for which it must have been present, but I understand my time is limited, so right now I'd like to focus on the notice taped to the tree, which states that it must be removed for sidewalk repair project. Right away, this seems strange to me since the sidewalk adjacent to the tree is actually quite level. There is a very small drop between sections, which has been filled in, but even that's not directly next to the tree, and it's 4 feet away from the nearest visible piece of root. Yesterday, I exchanged emails with Hector Banuelos at UFD, who told me the actual reason for the removal is structural damage to the trunk due to decay. If safety is the issue, I can't really argue with that. But the notice says sidewalk repairs, and the permit proposal says the same thing. I quote, Streets LA is proposing to replace the defective sidewalks, curb, and gutter due to uplift and severe disruption by the roots and root crowns of the subject trees. The trees have severely outgrown their growing space, and defective sidewalks, curb, and gutter are prevalent throughout the area. That description simply doesn't fit this tree. There's plenty of sidewalk on our block that's in dire need of repairs, but none of it is due to this tree's roots. So, if the tree has to be removed because it's inherently unsafe, then that sounds to me like an unavoidable shame. But if the structural weakness of the trunk only comes into play because of the proposed sidewalk repairs, then this would be an unnecessary loss, because the sidewalk near the tree doesn't need fixing. In my written comment, I left a link to photos that make this clear. Obviously, I care a great deal for this tree, and so do my family and others in the neighborhood. So I ask you to please look closely and exhaust all options to preserve this magnificent pine. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you,
We'll
Brandon.
go ahead and move on to the next caller. We'll move on to the next caller. Caller ending in 289, Adam. If you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone. You will have 2 minutes to speak on this item.
Hi there. My name is Adam Conover. I'm also calling to speak about the Aleppo Pine on Bates Avenue at Sunset Drive. I concur with Brandon that the sidewalk is in fine shape in that area, and given that that's the stated reason for the removal of the tree, I don't feel that it's necessary. I understand that there might be other expert opinions, but it doesn't jibe with the stated reason for the removal of the tree. I'd also like to speak to how beloved this tree is on the block. This is a block that I live on Bates Avenue. This is a block that has very little tree cover. There are some street trees, but most are very young and immature. There have also been 2 or 3 trees removed from the street in the past few years, and there's currently another tree slated for removal because of an unnecessary sidewalk widening. Street widening and sidewalk narrowing further up Bates Avenue in connection with some development. So this tree is one of the only pieces of shade on the entire block. There's only one other tree that is similar maturity and size. And this tree is also located next to a school where children are using this route to walk to school. Children need shade as well. And it's my judgment that, and my neighbors, that removing this tree would cause a major adverse impact on quality of life on the at the street and on Bates Avenue. And I ask that all measures be taken to preserve the tree rather than remove it and replace it with an immature tree that will not provide the same amount of shade. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. We'll move on to the last caller on the line, caller ending in 654. Caller ending in 654. Melanie, if you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone. You will have 2 minutes to speak on this item.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I'm calling regarding the street tree slated for removal on Hoffman in Studio City. I live on Hoffman. I am and have been for the last 2 years confined to a wheelchair. I walk this sidewalk, or roll, this sidewalk every day. The reason it's slated for removal, again, is the sidewalk repair. I never experienced any difficulty crossing the sidewalk here, rolling down the sidewalk here until, or still don't, never even thought about it until a notice went out for the street tree removal. There are numerous sections of sidewalk in my immediate neighborhood in dire need of sidewalk repair. This is absolutely not one of them. In my set of comments to urban forestry, the last comment tacitly acknowledged that the sidewalk was not really the issue. The quote being, "The subject sycamore is in poor condition and should be removed just for that reason alone." The sycamore, while it did suffer some from borer, and there is debate as to whether that was shot hole borer or the benign sycamore borer, the tree has weathered it. Forestry removed, it's a multi-trunk tree. Forestry removed the one trunk that had suffered last year. The remaining trunk is in excellent health. This is a majestic, massive sycamore. It's leafed out beautifully. The only challenge to the health of this tree, and the primary stressor here, is the fact that the property owner has bricked in and paved in the parkway. And there is some ivy growing around in the interstices between that bricking and the tree trunk. The tree is stressed primarily because of this non-compliant
2 minutes.
parkway
Go ahead and
change.
wrap up.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't talk fast enough. This is a non-compliant parkway, and I ask that the board please require the property owner to come into compliance, remove the bricking first before you take any other action. The tree will recover. It is in good health, and I ask that you continue this item until the property owner comes into compliance with the parkway standard regulation. Please, this is a beautiful, beautiful sycamore tree, and I know that sycamores that are planted are not necessarily protected, but this is a native species. It is majestic. It provides incredible shade. Please, 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 thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, that clears out the commentary queue for today, and then you do have the 16 Google emails that came in through our Google form website, all against the item.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Campos. Mr. Benuelos. And do we have anyone from BOE here? Okay. Hector, hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning, President Good, Commissioners. Hector Banuelos with the Suites LA Urban Forestry Division. We have before us is a request for the board to approve 6 trees to be removed in Council Districts 2, 4, 10, and 13 as part of the Bureau's of Engineering Sidewalk Repair Program, bid package number 48. These on this project, there are about 15 sites that are identified for sidewalk repair, of which 133 trees were identified within the project limits, of which 10 trees were initially identified for removal. However, we did consult with Bureau of Engineering, and we did look for ways to keep some of the trees, look for alternative designs and other methods to implement feasible methods of implementation, and we were able to actually reduce the numbers of 10 trees to 6 trees. So there are 6 trees proposed for removal on this part of this bid package. There are 4 trees that are really poor condition here. One is completely dead, as a matter of fact. There is a couple trees there on 4148 Brunswick Avenue. The bottle tree there is completely dead. There is also a carrot wood that is about 50% decline, really in poor condition. Is also just not worthy of preserving. There's a couple of trees there we saw over in District 10 at 1974 Bruce Road and at 1975 South Shenandoah. These are just about a block from each other. They're on a corner. It's a really awkward type of planting locations here. There's no parkways, just kind of a corner area. We have that one eucalyptus tree we tried to keep in place. It's a really nice looking tree, but it's pinned almost right directly adjacent to a street light. And then we have a power pole that's only about maybe 4 feet or so away from that tree. And then, of course, as part of the sidewalk repair program, we're also installing an access ramp there. And so there's we communicated with the Bureau of Engineering, and they're looking for ways to keep that tree in place. However, there's no way they can construct a ramp and still remain ADA compliant. So therefore, that eucalyptus tree has to be removed. Then we have on the a block away, we have a rubber tree. Looks like somebody put their house plant out there and kind of stuck in the corner there and kind of grew. As we all know, the rubber trees are not appropriate for parkway tree planting because they can become invasive, or not really invasive, but they can conflict with infrastructure. They grow so large and fairly quickly. And that also, Bureau of Engineering, as part of this program, is going to install an access ramp. It's going to encroach very close to that tree. And so therefore, that tree as well has to be removed. Those are the two of the better health trees there as part of this program. We have a couple trees that were in question here, the ones on Hoffman. That's at 12052 West Hoffman. That tree is a large California sycamore. It's a native species, but is not a native tree. It was not, did not grow by nature. It was planted. So therefore, it does not meet the criteria of a native protected tree. Just want to put that out there for the record. So the that tree there, particular tree, has evidence of invasive shot-hole borer. As we know, is a vector of a fusarium type of disease, a fungus disease, and it does affect the California sycamore amongst other various other tree species. And one of the tree trunks, there's a codominant limb, and that meaning there are two limbs that are meaning about the same size diameter, fairly close to the base of the tree growing. And so if we remove one trunk, it's already dead, as a matter of fact. The other trunk is not, the other tree or portion of the tree there is not far off from dying as well from this from the disease that the vector invasive shot-hole borer is affected this tree with. So it is showing signs of decline. A lot of the bark there is checked, meaning that it's just brittle, dry. And if we remove that dead limb there, that's only going to that tree is going to be off balance and leaning towards the street, which is not ideal and not in the city's best interest to leave the tree, knowing that there's definitely some structural and health defects with the tree, and so it may leave the city to some extent liable if anything may happen with that tree as far as it failing, and it probably will fail. Not so much if, it's more like when. So it's the opinion of the Urban Forest Division that the tree be removed as part of this program here. Yeah, the sidewalk is not so much defective there at that location. It's slightly ramped, but the sidewalk is programmed to be repaired there as part of this program here, and therefore that impact will just increase the severity, and the tree would probably most likely not recover, and probably fail in the future there. So we are recommending the removal of this tree in the interest of public safety, and not so much as the impact for the sidewalk repair itself. We have the sixth tree there on Bates. That's an Aleppo pine. There was a branch cut several years ago. I just don't know when. We don't know when. But there was a branch cut towards the base of the tree. And within that cut, there's a large cavity with a significant amount of decay. And that's really close to the root collar of that tree. And it's very concerning that it has impacted the structural stability of that tree. And it's leaning towards the property there. And we feel that the sidewalk is not that defective, but the sidewalk is planned to be repaired. But just, the sidewalk may not impact the pine as much as just its current condition. So that's why we're recommending the removal of that tree in the interest of public safety. Now, there was a comment made regarding the language in the board report. There are some locations there within the sites here that are severely defective, and some of the curb and gutters as well, and those are being repaired as part of this program. So it may not apply to some of these locations here where the trees are being removed, but it does apply to a lot of the other locations. So we ask that the board approve the removal of the 6 trees to allow the continuance of this sidewalk repairs for this project. If approved, the trees will replace with 2 trees for every tree removed with 24-inch box-sized trees be planted at and directly adjacent to the sites where the trees are being removed. The council district offices 2, 4, 10, and 13 were notified of the tree removal permit request. I did not receive any correspondence from the council offices in opposition to the tree removals. However, they did receive some requests from some of the constituents opposed to the removals. And the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment were also notified, as well as Community Forest Advisory Committee. If approved, the trees will replace 2-to-1 24-inch box-sized trees, and they will be watered for a minimal 3-year period. That concludes my presentation. I'm here to respond to any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Manuelos. Really appreciate the report. So colleagues, let's take a look here. We'll start with Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. I was actually going through all the addresses to look at the trees, so my lag there. Hector, just to clarify, on Council District 2, the sycamore tree, you're saying that that tree has significant health issues? Where are you, Hector? Oh, there you are.
Yes, it does. Yeah. I don't quite agree with the comments that were made earlier regarding the trees in perfect health. It's not. There's a significant amount of penetration by the borers and even invasive shot hole borer on that the healthier of the 2 tree trunks. And so there is also dry, brittle wood on that trunk as well. So it's our opinion that the tree should be removed for that reason.
And Hector, just to for my clarity, I see 2 trees on that. There's one that's like 1 trunk, and there's another one that has 2 trunks. That the one that you're talking about, one that has 2 trunks, and one of the trunks is the one that's brittle, right?
There's 2 trunks on that 1 tree. Yes.
Right, and then there's another tree on a little further down. That's not.
Were you looking on the Google map?
Yeah, I was. I was trying to figure out where the trees were.
That tree was already removed.
Oh, okay.
If you're facing the site, it's to the left. That was a dead tree there. That was previously
Got
removed.
it. So the one in question is the one that has 2 trunks, right? And that's the one that's not in good health. Hector,
Yes.
Can you tell us what happens if we leave that tree in the condition it is?
The tree will probably fail eventually. It's a pretty good sized piece of tree that remains, and so you can imagine when it does fail, it's going to create a significant amount of damage and potential injury.
And remind me, Hector, if and I know the significant term, I might not know it, but you said borer something. Is that the type of disease that other trees catch as well? If it's not taken away?
It's the invasive shot hole borer. It is a relatively new pest. It's just that it's invasive. It doesn't discriminate against tree species. It's host on several other tree species. It preys on the healthy tree species, healthy trees all around. And so actually that tree should have probably been removed already, but since it was part of the package, we wanted to bring it before the board so they can be advised of our intentions.
So if we do not remove this tree, this tree can possibly affect other trees around it, right?
That is correct.
Okay, got it.
It's not so much the borer in particular that affects trees; it's the disease that the borers are vectoring.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. And question on the tree in Council District 4, which I believe is Bates Avenue. I see that the council office was notified back in October of 2020, which was a different council office or a different council member. Has the new council office been notified since then about the removal of this tree?
We sent another notification out, and I'm looking right now through my documents. I was informed that another communication was sent out in March. Yes, on March 11th.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure the council office was also aware, the new council office.
Yeah.
And the health of that tree, it's because it's the trunk is moving towards the sidewalk, right?
We're talking about Bates, right?
Right.
I believe the lean was towards the home, if I'm not mistaken, towards the residence.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for me right now, President Good. I might have some other questions as my colleagues ask questions as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Hector.
Thank you. President Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you so much, Hector, for bringing this motion to us and calling to our attention some of the issues that have arisen in the motion. Wanted to ask you, in terms, how many council districts are involved in this project?
4.
Have we heard from any of those council district offices at all in terms of their concern about trees?
I heard from Council District 2 and 4 that their constituents had some concerns, but I did not receive anything directly from council offices indicating that they had concerns and or opposition to the tree removal.
Okay, so basically this constituents in 2 and 4 is what we are aware of right now. And as we look at what the concerns are that have been raised, there's a gap between our diagnosis that the trees need to be removed and then some of the activists in the community who believe that the trees don't need to be removed, correct? Is that?
I don't know. They're opposed to removal. So are we. You know, we don't like removing trees. We can help
Right.
it. Right. And there was one of them that did cite that if it's in the interest of public safety, that they didn't have so much of an objection of the trees, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And that pine tree does have some structural defects. Now, I mentioned earlier that it's not the sidewalk repair that's really impacting that tree. It's more of just the condition of the tree itself.
And so basically we're talking about in this motion, basically how many trees that need to be removed that you're proposing? 6? 6. Oh boy. Okay, and so at this point in time, we don't have any opposition from the council offices, just a few constituents who believe that these trees can be saved, and you've disputed that they can be saved. And so I don't know where that leaves us at this point in time. I don't know, did they have any other evidence other than their opinion?
No, and I do not know if they're even arborists and even know really what they're looking at, to be honest with you. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
No. And you know, we certainly want to know if there's any substantiated support for their reasons. And we respect everybody's input here on the board, including, of course, our staffs, but also we are open to hearing what constituents have to say. And I do, in that regard, want to make sure that I understand that what they are saying is substantiated with an arborist, which certainly gives strength to some of the concerns that they have. And you have already just informed me that you are unaware that there have been any substantiated opinions that have the support of an arborist in this case on this particular motion. Is that correct, Hector?
Only our certified arborists have looked at these trees. I'm unaware of any other certified arborists and or tree experts looking at these trees to substantiate the claims that are made against their position.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Colosa.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have too much more to add to what my colleagues have already asked. I appreciate everyone's questions and care for trying to protect as many trees as possible. Thank you also to all the callers and constituents and residents who dialed in and submitted comment on this. I know that it's such a tough balancing act, and that's something that I know Mr. Benuevos, Streets LA, and the Bureau of Engineering take very seriously. Is how do we, do justice to these two priorities that we have, which is to have safe sidewalks, but also to have, a good, diverse urban forest. And so I appreciate Mr. Benuelos outlining how they did as much as possible to limit the number of trees that would be removed for this sidewalk repair package. I did also just want to continue to add too that we do have strict rules in place about how we administer this program as a result of the Willett settlement. And this is something we are legally obligated to do in terms of implementing this program to the best of our ability. And even though the requester may not be here on the line, this was a request, a sidewalk repair request submitted to the city of Los Angeles. And did you have anything else that you wanted to add as it relates to the kind of the Willits, or I'm sorry, the sidewalk repair program at all, Mr. Benuelos, that I didn't already mention just now? No.
You may not have heard you.
Mr. Benuelos?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Just distract. Okay. No, I don't have much more to add, but I do want to say also, thank you for your commentary there, Commissioner Calosa. We, not so much the sidewalk, but also the streets want to keep safe as well. So these trees here, we're not removing because we'd like to remove trees at all. Contrary to that, we want to keep every single healthy, live, mature tree. But however, there are some circumstances that are observed, there are some trees out there that observe that kind of make it to where, we have to make the difficult decisions sometimes as the removal of trees. And these trees here are not in the best condition. And we feel that as part of making these sidewalks safe, we also make the streets safe. And while we're doing the work there, the sidewalk repair program, we want to make sure that the trees there that remain are healthy, mature, and continue to provide the benefits that the trees provide. And so that's about all I have to add at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Benuelos. I think I'm done with my statements as well, Mr. President, and just want to echo again how this is always such a tough choice for the city team. Nobody wants to take down a tree, but everyone wants to make the most livable city possible, and this is always a tough choice. And I just commend again Streets LA and the Bureau of Engineering and all of our partners on the sidewalk repair program for doing everything they can to make sure we limit the impact on trees as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coloso. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. Thank you, President Good, and thank you to my fellow colleagues just for your insightful questions, just to shed light on the reason why we have this board letter today before us. Mr. Banuelos, we heard from some of the folks that called in, they did not understand the connection, and I'm hoping that you can talk a little bit about this. The reason that these trees are being removed under the auspice of our sidewalk repair program. Can you just clarify that, for our callers?
These trees, there are 15 sites identified within this bid package, right, of which 133 trees are growing within the project limits. Of that, these, like I mentioned earlier, 10 trees were previously identified, but we're able to retain 4 of those 10 trees initially identified for removal, for reducing to 6. The 6 trees that are for removal are in very poor condition, right, and not going to sustain the root pruning. However, there are 2 that may sustain the root pruning, but their Bureau of Engineering could not come up with any feasible alternatives to keep those trees remaining in place and yet still be compliant with the American Disabilities Act. So these other 4 trees are in poor condition. So they are identified within the sites there of the sidewalk repair program. So therefore, we do not want to leave unhealthy or unstable or dead trees within the area, within the limits of the sidewalk repair program. That's why we're coming to your board today to ask for permission to remove the trees, due to their, not so much for their sidewalk, to the impact by the sidewalk repair, but also due to their conditions as well.
Okay, thank you. I know that we had some callers from Bates Avenue saying that there's no impact right now on the sidewalk, but they, I guess, could be a potential impact to the sidewalk if these trees are not removed because they're diseased.
Yes, the sidewalk, there's a little displacement there along on Bates, not very significant, but then the pine species do not sustain root pruning very well at all. Yeah, if that tree was matured, healthy, and very large, we would have made every attempt to perhaps maybe ramp and or seek other alternatives. But due to the condition of the tree, it does not, it's not, it doesn't make much sense, right, to try to do something like that.
All right, thank you for that. I know these decisions aren't easy, and we don't like to lose our existing trees either. I just see, when we just look at them on Google Docs, I mean, um, on Google, they look, they look fine to the, untrained eye. I'm not an arborist, but we have to trust our urban forestry department. You all have a lot of history with reviewing these types of cases, and I've seen just from past, obviously I've worked in local government in the past, and we've seen the damage that some diseased trees do to human life. And we don't want any foreseeable accidents happening in the future. This is not an easy vote for any of us. So I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. I do want to thank the callers first off, because I get it. I think it was Mr. Allen, and I may be wrong, but I'm thinking about the tree on Bates, and that providing shade for his family at the apartment, and then our caller on Hoffman. I get that. I respectfully, Commissioner Villegas, I have to say that, and I'm definitely not an arborist, but in looking at the pictures, I will say that the sycamore on Hoffman does look grim with the bark coming off, and I know that we've had a near epidemic of that borer. What's it called again, Hector?
It's the invasive shot-hole borer.
Yeah, I mean, we've lost a lot of trees from that shot-hole borer, and it just sort of emerged over like 3 years ago, Hector, isn't that correct?
Approximately about that, yeah. Really don't know the exact date, but yes, it's creating a lot of
havoc.
Yes.
And in fact, dead trees, to Commissioner Villegas' point, that diseased trees that have actually created actual havoc on cars and situations across the city, correct?
That's correct.
And then on the other, I do feel like there's something fairly clear. The one on Bates. I mean, just again, non-arborist view, that the top of the tree alone looks heavier than the trunk itself, particularly with that hollowed out cavity. That frankly looks very precarious. Again, I'm not an arborist. I'm just speculating and thinking out loud. Mr. Benuelos, to Commissioner Villegas' point, just and Commissioner Close, I just want to, for everyone's benefit, talk through. Everyone recognizes we are. This is not frankly, a matter of choice. We are in a settlement agreement that was sanctioned by the U.S. District Court. I believe the Central District Court, obligating us to repair over $1 billion worth of sidewalk, or to spend over $1 billion on sidewalk repair over the next couple of decades. In both of these cases, we have had requests from other constituents in those neighborhoods who, for whatever reasons, however unproblematic those sidewalks may feel to the callers we've had, which I get, and that's fair, somebody in that neighborhood felt like it was those sidewalks were problematic enough to merit going through a process of actually going online and requesting sidewalk repair. That is a constituent voice that we can not ignore any more than we can ignore callers who have joined us here today. Once, Mr. Benuelos, and I believe someone's here from BOE, Mr. Sasan is here. once those requests are made, and then we do the analysis on site of that sidewalk and the situation, even if it's not the worst case scenario sidewalk, we then are availing ourselves of the opportunity to evaluate the trees on site. And if we see trees in that evaluation that are diseased or unhealthy, it is a matter of efficiency, logic, and risk analysis, among other things, to evaluate the health of that tree regardless. We don't have the capacity to just cover the city and address every unhealthy tree. But when called upon, consistent with a judicial settlement, when called upon by other constituents to look at sidewalks and trees in a particular area, and we find that those trees are unhealthy to a degree that they are compromised and potentially dangerous, that's the process we go through. That's where we make that kind of decision, correct, Hector?
Yes, that is correct.
And again, of this sidewalk package, there were potentially 133 potentially impacted trees.
That's correct.
And we are removing with great consternation, or proposed removing with great consternation, 6 of the 133.
Yes, yeah, there's 133. Some of them very minimal or any impact, right? But they're just identified 133 trees within the areas, and so within the limits, of which the 10 were the worst of the worst, and then of course we narrow that down to 6.
So I think it always merits saying that we don't want to remove any trees. Every effort is being made to avoid that, but we do have to balance myriad factors in that process. So I empathize with our callers and do not relish this vote under any circumstance, but I hear you loud and clear, Mr. Benuelos. So do I have a motion to move the item forward?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. Objections or concerns, President Pro Tem Davis or Vice President Garcia?
No concerns on my behalf.
No, none for me.
All right. So hearing no objections or follow-up questions, the item is adopted forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Benuelos. Thank you to our callers. Thank you to the folks who called in. We hear you, but I feel like this was an important vote we had to take. So thank y'all, and thank you, Hector. All right. Colleagues, I would like to call a 5-minute recess. We will return at 11:32 in the a.m. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. For those of you that are staying on the line, the general public line to council audio is still open, and the board is now continuing. The board is now in recess.
Ready, folks?
I am getting some feedback from the boardroom, so I believe our IT group is there. We were having some technical issues this morning, but they may be tweaking the wires, if you will, or fixing something. So that's probably the feedback that we're getting from the boardroom. Mr. President, let me just double check to make sure all the commissioners are on the line. I believe it's just Dr. Davis that we're just waiting for. If you can hear me, Dr. Davis, if you want to turn on your video cam and mic, that would be great. Also, Mr. President, before we get started with the regular agenda, we do have a special agenda, and if you'd like, we can take that now. Anytime after 10:30 is okay. Or if you'd like, we can just continue the regular until we're completed and then open up the special. But this is a good breaking point if you want to consider that.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Can you resend that to me real quick, Fernando?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Dr. Campos, is it just the one item on the special agenda?
That's
Is there more
correct.
than one? Okay.
Just one item. And Dr. Davis, if you can hear me, if you could turn on your video cam and microphone. If not, I can send you a quick text. Okay, Mr. President, no response from Dr. Davis. I'm going to go ahead and send him a text. I'm going to be right back in about 30 seconds to a minute.
Okay.
Well, President Good, if you do want to take that special item, then you just recess. Well, actually, we're still in recess. You have to bring, well, but you'd have to bring the regular meeting back into session and then recess it again
To go into special.
to go into special, and then adjourn the special, then go back in. What you cannot do is, go back and forth. So once you're in the special meeting, you have to run it through to its adjournment, and then
Right.
go back into the regular meeting.
Gotcha.
If for whatever reason in your special meeting, you choose to not take whatever action that meeting has, then you can always adjourn that meeting, and then just obviously you'd have to bring it up at some later.
Right.
We just can't switch back.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. Is Dr. Davis, you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Oh, there we go. All right. So Dr. Campos, President Pro Tem Davis is here.
All right, sorry about that.
Problem.
I kind of called Dr. Davis, but he beat me to the
Beat you.
dialing in.
I was back.
So disregard my voicemail, Dr. Davis.
Not a problem, not a problem.
President Good, let me go ahead and restart the recording for you. Give me about 30 seconds. Okay. We are good, and I will follow your lead in regards to the special, or if you prefer, we can continue the regular.
Can you kick that over to me?
I did. I sent you an
There we
email
go.
with a link.
Um,
Once you open up the document, just scroll all the way to the bottom, and that's where the special is at.
Yeah. All right. What I'd like to do is call recess this meeting, and then we will open up the special meeting, and then go back. Does that sound good?
Yes, that is good. Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, just resetting the recess, or just clarifying the quorum for the recess period. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas are present for the regular agenda. We will now go ahead and recess the regular agenda and open up the special agenda. It is now 11:38 a.m. Roll call and quorum for the special agenda for Friday, May 21st. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis and Commissioner Caloza and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum for your special agenda. We do not have any commentary or comments on any of the items for today's special agenda. There's only one item for today and no commentary from the Neighborhood Council comment section.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Campos. Where did it go? Forgive me, everyone. Okay. Our item for the special agenda is a project that impacts CDs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15. This is Traffic Light Synchronization Program, Phase 2, Package 2, recommending the board waive the business inclusion program for this project. It's work order E1908869. So who is presenting on this, Dr. Campos?
Mr. President, we do have a team of 3 individuals. We're going to kick it off with Ray Sisson, our assistant from the Bureau of Engineering, but we also have Linda McGlinchey on the line from the Bureau of Contract Administration. So I'll turn the virtual microphone to Ray.
Public Works rolling deep. All right, Mr. Sisson, good to see you. Tell us what we need to know.
Yes, good morning, Commissioner. Good. Ray Sisson from Bureau of Engineering, Project Awards and Control Division. I'm here for the motion to request the board to waive the BIP for the Traffic Light Synchronization Program, Phase 2, Package 2 project, which was advertised on April 16, 2021. The project consists of replacing traffic signals, CCTV cameras, timing installation, traffic signal communication, and some other emerging transportation modes for the project. The city engineer's estimate for this project, or the engineer's estimate for this project, is $5,492,813. The project is scheduled to be received on May 26, 2021, and due to unforeseen issues in the new Los Angeles Procurement Opportunity Portal, LAPOP, the business inclusion feature of LAPOP is not functioning properly for this opportunity. I can turn it over to Ms. Linda for any other additional details on the, I guess the business inclusion program that's not functioning properly.
Thank you, Mr. Sisson. Good morning, Linda. Ms. McGlinchey?
Good morning. Yes, as Ray said, staff in working with ITA was made aware that there were issues with Bobbin on this particular project, whereby some bidders were able to complete all of their outreach notifications and requirements, and other bidders, for some reason, when they were searching to complete their notifications, could not find enough potential subcontractors to meet the minimum requirements. And that was over more than one type of work area. So it wasn't an insignificant issue, if you will, on the project. ITA was trying to fix it so that it was the bidders having difficulty would be able to remedy it. Unfortunately, they were not able to do so prior to the deadline. In this case, because it was more than one bidder who both completed as well as could not complete the requirements, we believe that the fairest thing for all bidders is to waive the BIP outreach requirements. We will still require them to meet all of the other requirements, as in listing their subcontractors, pledging participation, holding them to their pledges. We're just waiving the actual outreach notifications and that part.
Okay. Anything else?
Not from us. If there's any other questions.
Well, yeah, I'm sure we will, certainly. But Mr. Chen, I think did you raise your hand?
Yes, Commissioner, my name is George Chen. I'm with DOT. I'm the project manager for the project that's being requesting. I just want to add that there's a time constraint for this project. The original project was funded by the state legislature for $150 million back in 2008. And over time, DOT has completed all the project that is as part of the grant agreements. But during the implementation, we have additional savings, about $16 million at the end of the program. And we, DOT staff had gone back and tried to capture those savings and spend those money in the city. Normally, in this kind of grant, if we have any saving, the money will turn back to the state, and then the state can use the money for something else that's not related to the city itself. So DOT staff went back and recaptured those funds as part of the agreement with the state. They chip in additional 1.3 million. So the total grant is 18.3 million as part of the entire reprogramming. But we have to adhere to a very strict deadlines in terms of when we have to get the bids out and when we have to get the awarded and the construction completed. So there's some time constraint in this particular grant. And I really want to thank the BOE staff, Bureau of Contract Administrations, and also Board of Public Works staff to help us to shepherd this project along. So I just want to state that there's some funding constraint in this particular project that we would like to move as quick as possible to complete the bidding, award, and the constructions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Questions and comments, colleagues? Vice President Garcia, you want to kick us off?
Sure, President Good. Linda, just to clarify the glitch that happened, this is like a technical glitch that happened?
Correct. It's a technical glitch. So these primes that were unable to complete their outreach notifications were doing the searches as they should, but where the notification may have said that they had to, or the requirement may have said that they had to outreach to, say, 20 subcontractors, when they did their search, they could only see 15.
I see.
So on ITA's part, they knew that there were more than 20. Other contractors were able to see and outreach to more than 20. But ITA could not fix that, so it was impossible for those bidders to meet the requirement, even though the subs exist.
Okay. Has that been now taken care of, or is that something that we're going to take care of in the future?
So these glitches are happening on a project-by-project basis. We've had some other glitches where it's something we've come across before and we've been able to work around, but this particular one was too extensive for us to be able to work around it. And ITA has truly been working hard with the conversion, but unfortunately between Public Works and all of the other city departments, they have not necessarily been able to address everything in a timely manner.
Got it. And then based on Mr. Chen's statement, we are under some kind of a deadline, right, to move this forward. And so we probably didn't have time to fix that glitch but we do have to move this forward. Am I
Correct.
right to say that? Okay. Okay.
Yes. So if there had been time where we could have extended the bid due date, which would have then extended the deadline for the BIP outreach,
Right.
we would have recommended that instead.
Okay, understood. That makes it clear. I don't have any other questions from now. Thank you, Ms. McClinchy, Mr. Chan, and somebody else presented. Oh, where did he go? I lost him. Oh, here, Mr. Ray Sisson. Sorry. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis? You're on mute, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask, this program that we have, is it the old system, our standard system, or is this the new system that we paid for where we are experiencing the glitches?
It was actually the glitches are a result of the transition from the old system to the new system. So ITA has found that it seems to be isolated to the projects that were advertised prior to the system transfer. So once those projects are done, we should be free of glitches.
So this is the new program where the glitches are, correct?
Yeah.
And who's the, you don't know the company that we use for this, do you?
Yes, it was Salesforce. With that said, they had a program, I suppose, and they have trained city staff to implement. So that, but it was. I believe they've been responsive to, in trying to assist with working out these bugs. But with that said, ITA told me that earlier this week that in terms of Bobbin, there's something like 10 million lines of code. So it's quite a task for them to be doing this change.
Yeah, we know that. All of us know that technology are going to have some challenges. However, I just wanted to zero in on this particular new technology that we paid for and what we're experiencing here. I don't believe it's staff's issue in terms of knowledge about the program. I think it's the program, if I hear you correctly, in terms of our experience.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. So Salesforce trained staff, they ultimately did the programming to adapt our old Bobbin to this new program.
So you think that perhaps it might have been something that we failed to do in our transformation of the old system to the new system?
It sounds like that may have been it. Like I said, they shared with me that it's something like 10 million lines of code. So
well, here's what I don't understand.
That's quite a bit.
Here's what I don't understand. If we paid what we paid for that system, why doesn't that company have somebody to come out here, a technology expert, to verify that the transformation is in accordance to what we paid for, that it's not just our staff learning it, but that they come out here with some technical assistance to oversee and collaborate with us on it. I think we paid enough.
So I couldn't speak to that. They may very well be doing that. I'm not aware.
Could you make sure, could you check to make sure that we have that level of support from that company? Because I think that's important moving forward. Is that possible?
I can ask ITA and the CPO team about that.
Yeah, I would like to see, because we've paid for this service, I would like to see them have a technical person who's a point person, who can verify, not only just simply give us instructions, but I think we've paid for enough service from that company that they ought to make sure that we safely land in a place that the system is technologically working efficiently and effectively before they let us go. I believe that, and I don't think that that is unreasonable. I hope you don't think so. But I think it's very reasonable, given what we've paid for it, given what was promoted to us, what was advertised about the program. I think that for us to realize the maximum effect of what is a great program is that we need from that company the technical assistance to assist us, to ensure that the instructions that they have given us are successfully implemented. And I think we're owed that. Now, let me ask, in terms of what occurred, certainly it took too long to be able to try to get a solution technologically. But are there any manual solutions perhaps that we could have implemented temporarily as it relates to accommodating those participants who used the system and had some problems? Is there some kind of administrative remedy we could have temporarily implemented?
So we have done that on some other projects, and we have done that in the past. In this particular instance, based on the information that I was provided, I felt that it was too large of a scale to do that manual alternative. Because in the past, when we've had that issue, it was a very minor thing that was, again, beyond the bidder's control, that then prohibited them from modifying their summary sheet. So we have a manual process for that. In this case, they couldn't complete the notifications either. And for them to have to do that manually, it really would put them at an unfair disadvantage compared to the other bidders who were able to do it through Bobbin and would be able to complete everything through Bobbin.
So there was no remedy administratively that we could have implemented because you think it took too much time?
Well, I mean, we could potentially have come up with a list of all the potential subs for all of the NICS codes that they were deficient. Given them that list, they would have then had to do old school mail or email, perhaps, to do that notification, somehow document it,
sure,
and do it within the timeline. But they would still be locked out of the Bobbin summary sheet, so they would then also have to do the Bobbin summary sheet manually. And meanwhile, you would have other bidders who were able to complete that notification all through Bobbin, would be able to do their summary sheet all through Bobbin. In terms of bid preparation, I believe it would be unfair because it wasn't just, say, one potential subcontractor and one NICS code.
Sure. I realize that there were multiple vendors who are seeking to do business with us. I would like for us to try to figure out a way that we could have an emergency effort. And I do realize that it's very cumbersome in an emergency situation, but again, it's an emergency situation. And the reason why I say this is because technology is what it is. It might break again. You know what I'm saying? This is a reality that those of us who use technology have to deal with. And Lord knows that those of us who are here at the Board of Public Works know that us even connecting for the meetings, using our laptops are a challenge. And so this is one of the real challenges that we have today. The other issue is that the other thing that often comes up is that the BIP program, we often have to get a lot of exemptions from BIPs. You know what I'm saying? On many of our projects, we have to get BIP exemptions. So to the degree that we can prepare to implement BIP, even in an emergency situation, will be helpful for us collectively, I believe. And maybe I'm idealistic in that approach, but I would love to see us come up with some administrative emergency remedy. And it won't be that people will have to unfairly do it all the time, but it will be that we can maximize BIP when humanly possible, because there are many instances, again, where we have to go and get a BIP exemption. But this is a time, if in fact we were able to construct an administrative remedy, we still could have implemented BIP on an emergency basis. And I don't want to say could keep doing this, but I want us to prepare for the challenges that we're going to confront in the future. So I wanted to say that because sure, we need this money. Sure, we're going to vote to make sure we have this money. But I want us to have the same passion about BIP when an emergency occurs, because you've presented to me an emergency right now. And this emergency is we need to move this forward. And I'm going to respond accordingly and expeditiously. But I want to make sure that we're the best that we can be, and that we do the same when we're confronted with these technological challenges as it relates to BIP. It's so critically important because of the outcome that BIP creates for those that we serve. And so that's my 2 cents in what I'd like to see us do moving forward. So thank you so much for allowing me to discuss this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you, President Good, and I appreciate all the questions for today's item. Thank you for just providing a lot of context for these decisions to get made. Seems like we're in a pickle. So we have no way out of it other than to move without having our important piece of contracting that also collaborates with this work that we're doing. I don't have any questions. I just really liked the line of questioning that Pro Tem Davis had right now. There's the list shed some good information for us for decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Vice President Garcia, have I called on you yet? Okay, that's right. Sorry. Commissioner Closa?
Thank you, President Good. Thank you for your report, Mr. McGlinchey, and always appreciate questions from my colleague. And also just wanted to maybe clarify a few things. So Ms. McGlinchey, us waiving the BIP, whoever responds to this proposal, whoever we end up awarding the contract to, they're still required to follow our BIP requirements. Is that correct?
They are required to follow everything else. So they will still have to list subcontractors. We will hold them accountable for who they list. They still have to meet the mandatory subcontracting minimum. And we will enforce the bid proposal documents. All we are requesting be waived in this case is the requirement to do the notifications and the summary sheet. And that's because had we gone manual on the notifications, I believe that still would have required us to extend the bid due date, and that's something that wasn't an option in this case.
Yeah, and I know that was stated already, but can you just restate it one more time? How much dollars would we be losing if we didn't get this bid proposal out? And I know these dollars are so far and few that, you know, we fight for everything we can get to reinvest in our city's infrastructure. Can you just tell me again the number? I know it's in the report. Do you want to chime in, Mr. Cecil? I saw you unmuted.
Yes, Commissioner Calosa, the project estimate for this project is $5,492,830.
Great, yeah, and so those are all the state dollars that are kind of on the line that we're trying to make sure we keep. And I did just want to add a little bit of additional information too on the migration from LA Babin to our new system. LA Pop, right? That it's being called. I kind of like that name. It's tough when we're migrating one large system to the other, and it's not like we can take a clean pause to do that transition. And one of the things that we heard for those of you who joined us this week on Thursday and on Wednesday and Thursday in Accessing LA, we did hear from our Chief Procurement Officer about updates to this new system. And we know that it's only been happening for the last really 4 weeks when we've transitioned. And one of the things that we heard, and I've been working closely with the Chief Procurement Office and of course BCA on Accessing LA recently, which is why I have a little bit more of this context, is that I know that Salesforce is providing technical assistance on this migration because we want this to work well. It's not just a procurement system for city opportunities. It's going to be a regional system. And so, this is an expansion of what we already have. And I know that from the CPO team directly that Salesforce has been very good at the technical assistance that they've provided and have helped resolve this issue, Dr. Davis, is what I was told. And so for me, I was very heartened to hear that. And that I think that it's one of those things when we migrate one large system for the other is that some of these issues do come up, and that I know that both BCA and the CPO team and the mayor's office have been responsive to ongoing challenges, and that they're dedicated and committed to fixing it, because this is not something that we ever want to do. And I know them especially, they never want to waive a BIP outreach requirement for this, because that's not what they're about. But this is a unique circumstance, and so I do in this case agree with the Bureau's recommendations for this, and know that they did everything they could for this not to happen. And I just wanted to add a little bit of that context, that they're all working on it and that the technical assistance is there from what I was told. But that's it for me, and thank you, Mr. Sison, Ms. McClinchy, and Mr. Chen for your reports.
Commissioner, I just want to say the proof of the pudding is in the eating. If they provided some technical assistance, then we should not have had this problem, period.
Yeah, they, we don't know where the line is until it's crossed, unfortunately, Rose. So as soon as they did find out about this issue, then that's when, from my understanding, Salesforce and CPO and BCA team are working to actively address these types of issues.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. I think everything's wrong, but everyone's right. The practical reality is I do think there is this scale of transition. There is just going to be inevitable hiccups, and what we haven't seen is a mass conflagration of this system blowing up. We've got a challenge, and every understanding that I've got is that they are engaged full tilt boogie to address that challenge. But we got to deal with a few hiccups. I think it's important to note that the folks in this situation are not being excused from BIP. This is strictly about the notification part. They are still going to be subject to their minimum they're still subject to BIP in this project, which I think is really important, Dr. Davis, because you care about it, I care about it, we all care about it. They are still subject to BIP here. So for the record, I think we need to make that really abundantly clear. I know also there is, to Dr. Davis's point, where there's inevitability, and I think anytime you have a massive technological infrastructure being transitioned, there is inevitability of challenges. Where there's inevitability, to Dr. Davis's point, you also account for it. And so I think that I know, Linda, that y'all are on some other, correct me if I'm wrong, on other potential projects that could be implicated here, and we could even potentially move out bid dates and things like that. But this is a situation here, given that money where that was not an option, correct?
That is correct. We're monitoring some other projects. We've done some workarounds where we could. It wouldn't create an unfair advantage for one bidder over another. But this one, because of the money, because the option to extend the bid due dates really isn't viable because of the money, we're coming to you with this recommendation.
And with an imperfect solution, which is what it is, which I get. And so, so then, to be clear for the record, these folks will be subject, these bidders will be subject to BIP. We're looking at other projects that could be in a similar situation and seeing what workarounds could be handled, which I think gets to your point, Dr. Davis, like anticipating the inevitable, anticipating the problem with contingencies, right? So I think that I'm satisfied y'all are doing that, and I know you are. And then we're just going to, I know y'all are going to make sure our sales force and our contractor are on top of everything. Mr. Jordan Hemingway, are you comfortable?
Yeah, I was holding off. First of all, just for the record, I fully concur with the recommendation here. That I can tell you, having worked with Linda in the past when we've had minor glitches, staff works extremely hard to avoid having to make this recommendation. You really have no options here. So, but we've said over and over again that the firms here are subject to BIP. I just want to clarify, we're waiving BIP. What they're subject to are the minimum subcontracting requirements and the requirement that when they list subcontractors, they're committing to use those subcontractors in the amounts that they have been listed for. And if they don't, then they're subject to the penalties that we apply from time to time, not very often. But I just want to clarify what they're subject to. And because we keep on saying that they're subject to BIP, we're waiving BIP. But they're subject to the minimum subcontracting requirements and that they must adhere and use the subcontractors that they list in their bids. So I only wanted to make that clarification because I think when we say they're subject to BIP, what we mean is they're subject to the minimum subcontracting requirements, which is, I understand the interrelationship between the two. That's what they're subject to.
No, you're right. Thank you. Because I think I said they were subject to BIP like 18 times. So you're right. Okay. I appreciate that. And that is an important distinction. You're correct. So thank you. But I do appreciate that they're going to be subject to those obligations in terms of using the subcontractor to identify and to the minimum subcontractor requirements. So this is not an exciting vote. It's a special for a reason because it was an emergency, and so I hate that we have to take this vote, but we do need to do this or take this vote. So yes, Commissioner Kosovo.
Thank you, President Good. And just before we take the vote, I believe I just wanted to recognize if it's possible to yield some time to Mr. Andrew Choi from the Mayor's Chief Procurement Office, who has been the lead on this. I think he wanted to just maybe add additional detail and context, if that's okay.
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Choi, or afternoon at this point.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. And again, thank you, Commissioners, for an opportunity to speak on this matter. I know there's been some confusion around here, and I didn't want BOE and or PCA to just receive the full weight of what's going on and the understanding of the importance of BIP and why BIP was created and your role in ensuring that the most disadvantaged and the the smaller businesses are ensured an outreach of information on opportunities. So once you provide some clarifications on what happened during the transition, I think it's been discussed a couple of times, but during the transition, there was some technical components and there was two different kinds. There were certain issues that transitioned from our old system that we really didn't know there was a problem, and we did a one-to-one transition where the old problems also came over. that was some of the things that we discovered, is that our old system also actually already had issues that we never even were privy to. And moving forward, when we moved over as well, there was some data issue during the transmission of data. So there were two separate problems with what happened. And as we were working on this, and I can tell you this from the ITA's perspective, they worked extensive amounts of hours, and Commissioner Close is correct. We worked extremely hard to ensure that all 77,000 businesses registered in BAVIN, and of that, the 20,000 businesses that are certified, the transition of 20 years worth of data and process was going to come with some glitches, and we are aware of that. And what we've done is, we weren't going to BCA's credit, the first place wasn't to let's just give them waivers. The first was, can we extend so we can resolve the problem so the bid can be concluded? That was our first priority. Ms. McGlinchey is correct. There's certain projects needed waivers, and this project is not the only one. We provided waivers to other projects as well, just because the time-sensitive nature of it. So, but it is not as expansive. We're not talking 40% of all opportunities are going to be getting bid waivers. It is being addressed on a one-to-one basis. We have teams of 3 and 4 dedicated to just working on these issues as they come up, and we're dedicating hours upon hours of being as responsive as possible. And so, yes, there is a level of, we apologize that businesses struggling to complete what they're being mandated to do and having to find workarounds for. At the same time, they are being addressed quickly and as effectively as possible. And I'm happy to answer any questions here.
Thank you, Mr. Choi. That's actually really helpful. All right. Do I have a motion on the item?
Moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Dr. Campos, why don't we take a roll call on this one?
Absolutely, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, taking the vote tabulation for special agenda item number 22. President Good?
Aye.
Vice President Garcia?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis?
Aye.
Commissioner Villegas?
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza?
Aye.
This motion carries unanimously as adopted.
Thank you, colleagues, for that. I mean, that's called doing our jobs. It's, again, unfortunate, but we know few are more committed to BIP on the planet Earth than Linda McGlinchey or Dr. Mike Davis. We're doing the work, and this is unfortunate. But in the long run, LA Pop will make BAVIN feel like a typewriter. And so that's what we can look forward to, I think, in this process. And so thank you all very much. And thanks, Mr. Choi, for jumping in with us last minute like that. All right, so that concludes, I believe, our special agenda. The deck is cleared, correct? Oh, no, and the item is adopted forthwith.
Do not adjourn it, please.
I knew it, Fernando. You didn't even have to say the words. I knew. So the item is adopted forthwith. That is our one and only item on the special agenda. And so our special meeting is hereby adjourned. So thank you all. Dr. Campos, I would like to reestablish or reconvene our regular meeting and reestablish quorum on that and continue that meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, reestablishing quorum for the regular meeting for the Board of Public Works, reconvening the regular meeting for May 21st, 2021. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. All right. Let's go to item number 12. Item number 12 is a contract renewal, S. Groner Associates, Inc., Stormwater Public Education Program, recommending the board authorize the one-year renewal option between the City of Los Angeles and S. Groner Associates, Inc. for the Stormwater Public Education Program. All original items and conditions of the contract remain in effect, and there is no increase to the contract ceiling. This is work order S04 FPUBO C-125888. I believe Ms. Amaro has been waiting very patiently for her item. So good afternoon, Ms. Amaro. It's good to see you.
Good afternoon, President Good. You're right. I had to change my comments from good morning to good afternoon. So good afternoon, President Good and Commissioners. I'm Joyce Amaro with LA Sanitation's Watershed Protection Program. I'm here today to request authority from your board to exercise the final one-year contract renewal option for contract number 125888 between the City of Los Angeles and S. Groner Associates. This contract provides services related to the city's stormwater public education program as mandated by the MS4 stormwater permit. As you're aware, the City of LA is engaged in a program to reduce the amount of pollutants entering the region's storm drain system. As part of LA's effort to remain in compliance with the NPDES permit, the city has developed and implemented a public education program to educate residents about preventing storm drain pollution and keeping our local waterways and watersheds clean. The scope of this contract, as well as the one-year renewal that we are requesting authorization from you today, is for S. Groner Associates to continue providing the required public education services that include the maintenance and growth of our online social media presence, including the program's blog, quarterly e-newsletter, Facebook page, Twitter feed, Instagram page, and YouTube channel. 2, a point of purchase program that places stormwater outreach materials in retail stores citywide, such as home improvement stores, garden centers, paint stores, pet stores, veterinary offices, to help educate residents about specific pollutants of concern like bacteria, pesticides, fertilizers, and paint, and encourage them to dispose of them properly. 3, an elementary school education program comprised of assemblies and classroom presentations. 4, the city's sponsorship of and participation in Kids Ocean Day, which is an annual beach cleanup at Dockweiler Beach that typically boasts about 5,000 LA area students. 5, the development of an online municipal employee stormwater training program. And 6, the ongoing coordination with the Board of Public Works Public Affairs Office, LA Sanitation's Marketing Office, and the Safe Clean Water Program. We were here last July requesting the renewal of this personal services contract, and with the authorization of a one-year contract renewal, your board gave us 4 directives, and I'd like to provide you with an update. So first, you directed us to increase our MBE and WBE percentages. Our MBE percentage was low due to an MBE subcontractor, Mark Anthony Printing Services, who was refusing work in 2019. And unfortunately, that continued into 2020. And ultimately, that subcontractor sadly had to close his printing business in late 2020. We were able to add a new MBE, Garuda Promo and Branding Solutions, in January of 2021. In addition to being an MBE, Garuda is also an SBE, and EBE, and a local area small business. While our MBE and WBE percentages are low in the board report before you today, this is because we used December of 2020 numbers. We did not hire our new subcontractor, Garuda Promotions, until January of this year. And we plan on increasing our MBE participation to 14% and meeting our WBE participation goal of 4% by June 30th of this year. Our goals of 18% MBE participation and 4% WBE participation will continue in the one-year contract renewal. The second directive that you gave us was to translate our outreach materials into 12 languages. So we have translated 7 educational tip cards and 3 flyers into Armenian, Simplified Chinese, Farsi, Hindi, Japanese, Khmer, Korean, Russian, Spanish, Tagalog, Thai, and Vietnamese. Those outreach materials are currently being reviewed by LA Sanitation staff for technical accuracy, and once we have finished their technical review, we will forward them to Commissioner Colosa and the Translation Committee for their review. Once they are approved, the plan is to have these outreach materials available online in our resources library and print them for dissemination to interested council offices and community groups. The third directive that you gave us was to explore and find more ways to pivot our program virtually due to COVID-19. And to that end, we created an online resources page for teachers and parents on our LA Sanitation website. We produced a rain barrel installation webinar in December. We sent out 2 e-blasts to approximately 1,200 LA area teachers as well. Our subcontractor, Malibu Foundation for Environmental Education, pivoted to virtual classroom presentations and has educated close to 4,000 elementary students over Zoom. We continue to post weekly on our social media pages, and our quarterly e-newsletter is distributed to approximately 4,000 subscribers. For LA Sanitation's online Earth Day activities, we produced a short 2-minute educational video on watersheds, and just this past week, we hosted our first virtual information booth at Keep LA Beautiful's Beautification Conference. And lastly, you directed us to ensure that we find work for Ancon Communications, our MBE, who normally provides media relations work for Kids Ocean Day after Kids Ocean Day was canceled in 2020. We had Ancon Communications conduct media relations for our rain barrel installation webinar last December, and has been working to publicize the city's sponsorship of the virtual 2021 Kids Ocean Day and ocean-themed student art contest. Vice President Garcia has graciously assisted with media interviews, and I thank her for that. Throughout the requested 1-year renewal option, the original terms, which was executed on July 1st of 2015, will remain in effect. And with the contract renewal, the contract's new expiration date will be July 1st of 2022. There will be no general fund impact from the exercising of the 1-year contract renewal option, and this agreement is funded by the Stormwater Pollution Abatement Fund. The original contract ceiling of $3,150,000 remains the same, and the appropriation for fiscal year 21-22 is $400,000. And I do need to make one correction. I said that we had 4,000 subscribers to our e-newsletter. We actually have more than 14,000 subscribers. That concludes my report. I thank you for your consideration and am available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Amaro.
Thank you.
Extremely thorough report. Really appreciate it. I appreciate you reporting back on our conversation in July, which I remember.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Colleagues, Commissioner Villegas, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you for that report, Ms. Amaro. I know that you were able to brief me a couple of weeks ago, and it seems like you're making such tremendous headway on this effort, and just the translations alone are really remarkable. So I really applaud you for that, and appreciate Commissioner Colosa for keeping us all on track to be able to do that. So that's a big effort. And then just all of your online and touch points with so many students and with the Malibu Foundation. Appreciate everything that you have all been doing. I don't have any questions. I just think that this program is really flourishing, and we'd like to see it continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis?
No questions for me. Thank you for the report.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Colosso.
Thank you, President Good, and thank you, Ms. Morrow, for your report. And I really just want to express my deep appreciation and thanks to you and your team for taking what we said last year to heart. And that doesn't always happen. Sometimes we give feedback in meetings and then the item disappears and we have no idea where it went and what happened with our feedback. And that did not happen here. Throughout the course of when you were last year at board for this item, you worked actively with the board, with specific members on some of the feedback we gave, because it's so rare that we have an item like this where we have a dedicated budget for public outreach, which is why we all cared so much. And I think that so many of my colleagues have also worked with you, so I applaud them, and just want to add extra emphasis on how much work it took for you all to provide more language access to a really important program that more people in the community should know about. And so I applaud you for the 12 languages. I look forward to taking a look at them. And I just want to say a stellar job on the improvements that you've made in the past year. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosso.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosso. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Joyce, thank you so much for your thorough report and your thorough follow through on all of the items we spoke about in July. I know July, the conversation we were having a board with all items were very grim. And we were asking everybody to go back and recheck and double check and make sure that this is something that we really need. And you guys have done that. Even though now, things have shifted a little bit, we're at a better point. It was so good to see the thoroughness that you went through. So Sharam, I believe Sharam is still the division head for watershed protection, right?
Actually, Sharam is now the acting assistant director for sanitation, and Michael Scaduto is our acting division manager.
Oh, wow. Well, they should be very proud to have you on their team, because you have done a very good job in making this happen. And also, I applaud you and your team for helping the Malibu Foundation pivot this year and make sure that the Kids Ocean Day education continues, even though it's online programming right now. But the art contest is magnificent, by the way. And we're not taking kids to the ocean this year. But I just want to say thank you for helping them just kind of work through that situation and still execute a Kids Ocean Day education campaign.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia.
That is it for me, President Good.
Thank you, Commissioner or Vice President Garcia. Ms. Morrow, I would echo my colleagues on the thoroughness of the report and gratitude for you taking care of business on our comments back in July. One quick question from a procedural standpoint. This is the second one-year extension. That's it, right?
Correct.
So are you now segueing into prep for a subsequent a new RFP, or what's the plan post this last one-year extension?
So the plan moving forward is for us to issue a task order solicitation or a TOS to sanitation's on-call contractors. That's the plan. Unfortunately, the contracting process is so long and drawn out and arduous that our management has decided to move forward with a TOS.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. I will motion to move this item forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Got 2 seconds. Garcia and Davis. Any concerns? Colosso, Villegas. All right. Hearing no concerns or objections, the item is adopted and approved forthwith. Thank you very much, Ms. Morrow.
Thank you so much.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Okay. Goodbye.
All right. Colleagues, I want to skip a couple items we'll come back to. Forgive Ms. Wiles. I want to go to item 16. Item 16 is an authority for expenditure truck owners on file. Bureau of Street Services and Office of Accounting are requesting the board board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $1 million, new adjusted amount of $10,400,000 to encumber funds for the as-needed trucking program, authorize the president and two members of the Board of Public Works to execute this expenditure and any as-needed trucker agreements requested to meet the service demands of the program. AE 210-00001M Fund 100, General Fund Department Number 86, Appropriations Unit 003030. I believe Ms. Clements, as well as Rose, are with us here today on this item. Good afternoon, Stephanie and Rose.
Good afternoon.
And are you also here on this? No, you're not. This is not your. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, you are. Sorry. All right. Good afternoon. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Hello. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, we get you.
Okay. I'm in a new office, so just checking. Stephanie Clements, Assistant Director, Streets LA. In front of you this afternoon is a request from Streets LA to increase the existing fiscal year 2021 AFE for our as-needed contract trucker program by $1 million, which will increase the ceiling for trucking services from $9.4 million to $10.4 million. The current AFE that Streets LA is asking to amend is only good through June 30th, 2021. So we're not asking to extend the term of the AFE. We're only asking to add additional monies to the existing AFE, only up to June 30th. Note this increase amount is in line with previous year AFE expenditures for truckers. We typically spend about $10 to $11 million a year on the program. So what we are requesting is really not out of the norm. As you know, due to this extraordinary year, we worked really hard to initially keep the AFE amount at a lower amount to cut costs. But now that there is an influx of funding in this fourth quarter, we have expanded our work programs in the fourth quarter, and we need more trucking services, and therefore we need more trucking dollars in this AFE. The as-needed contract trucker program is a long-standing and vital tool in our Streets LA toolbox. It provides Streets LA with a pool of experienced truckers that can be called upon and be used as needed to supplement our workforce. These truckers mostly help support the pavement preservation program, resurfacing and failed streets programs, and support our resurfacing lane mile metric, which is at 1,700 lane miles for next year, assuming that we have sufficient resources. Having these truckers is a critical tool for us, and because it provides us with resource flexibility that is so needed with our work programs where the funding is in constant flux, and we need the ability to expand and contract at a moment's notice depending on the work variables of the day. As we've indicated in recent board discussions, Streets LA is working on options as to how this program will look like in the future, but these options will take more time to fully flesh out and implement and will not be ready by July 1st. So in the meantime, we still have an ongoing need for these services next fiscal year, and we will be coming back to the board in a couple of weeks to discuss our short-term proposal for as-needed trucking services in 2021-22 and beyond. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Stephanie. We'll open this up. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have real questions. I'm very happy. I just have two comments. One is I'm very happy that this is moving forward and it's staying the same, and we're able to keep our truckers the way they were. So that for now, that's absolutely the best thing that could happen. So thank you, Stephanie, for working so hard and making sure that this is moving forward. My second comment is, Stephanie, you look great. It's Friday. You look amazing. So enjoy today. That's all.
Well, I shouldn't say it. I did my weekly shower yesterday. I come into the office once a week, so I gotta clean up at least once a week.
You gotta look good when you're in the office. Well, you look amazing. That's all I have to say. That's all for me. Those are my two comments.
I'm going to reserve all comment and go to President Pro Tem
I
Davis.
didn't ask all of those questions. All I said was she was looking good.
Yes, thank you so much, Stephanie, for your details and description of the issues involved in this motion. I agree with Vice President Aura Garcia that to have this motion really is important, not only for street services, but for the impact and the value it has on our department collectively. Because while you, on one hand, are one bureau, you're one among five. And so when we look at our department, we have to look at how, in fact, we have inclusiveness in terms of contracting across the department. And when we do that kind of review, and when we look at the data, this proposal that you're presenting to us is so critically important in terms of the impact that it offers and the inclusion that it presents to the Department of Public Works. So I agree with Vice President Garcia and support this motion that you brought to us today. And thank you for it. And I appreciate the effort that it presents to us as a department in terms of inclusiveness. Thank you.
And really, this money is going to truckers. This is $1 million more that's going to go into, truckers' paychecks. So yeah, it's a win-win.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Calosa?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Ms. Clements. Agree and echo my colleagues' statements about this. And I know you mentioned this program when we unveiled the community level contracting motion on Wednesday, given how majority of these truckers are minority-owned small businesses. And so this is going to make a big difference to them. And just thank you for your work.
Thank you, Commissioner Calosa. And Commissioner Villegas?
Hey, thank you so much, President Good. When I saw Stephanie, it reminded me, why am I sitting when I have a stand-up desk? Not to say that I wasn't listening to the words that you were saying, just observing you. But I appreciate you bringing this forward to us. I know it's a stopgap measure for the time being for this fiscal year. If you could just provide some clarity, I know you said that you're still working towards bringing other alternatives just to bring in these truckers either in-house or through an association or what have you. Will you be bringing forward another motion for us or another AFE after this fiscal year?
Yeah, that's the plan, that we will be asking, most likely, that you approve another AFE for next year while we sort out the details and work on how this program is going to transition maybe to a new model. But in the interim, because we aren't at that new model yet, the tentative plan is to come back to the board and ask for another AFE for next year, because AFEs are only annual authority. So we'll need another annual authority for next year, next fiscal year.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. I don't have any further questions. I just wanted to at least let the other commissioners know not to be surprised in the event that we do get another AFE on this specific issue. You're still all negotiating, and I understand that those take time, but just in the event that we have to come back, that's what's happening. I don't have any further questions, President Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Villegas. And yeah, I appreciate you flagging that. This remains a complex situation that we are going to need to address, and Streets LA is working assiduously toward that end, but we have needs to take care of in that process. And so I think that's an important reminder for everyone here. This is relative. This AFE basically takes care of this issue till June 30.
Right.
Clear.
Not long.
Yeah, not long. That's right. So we get to see Stephanie and Rose and Anna again very soon. With that, I don't have any further questions. I get it and appreciate y'all's time yesterday with this.
Move.
Oh, well, there we go. I got a motion.
I'll second that.
Tim Davis, and I got a second from Villegas. I don't even have to ask for motions around here. Any concerns or objections, Closer Garcia? All right. Hearing none, the AFE for item 16 is adopted and approved forthwith. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Rose. Y'all have great weekends. And enjoy your new office.
Thanks. Fred retired and I swooped right in.
That's funny. That's good. Fred had taste. I love the green wall. That's great. All right. Thanks, Stephanie. All right, colleagues, let's go back to item 13. And I believe Ms. Wiles is with us here. We have a series of contract acceptances. Hello, Seppi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Item 13 is a contract acceptance for Hollywood Boulevard 8720-8730 bulkhead. Recommending the board accept this contract. Work order E1908549. Why don't you tell us about it, Ms. Wiles?
Yes, good afternoon. Stephanie Wiles, Bureau of Contract Administration, recommending to accept this contract. On November 21, 2019, an emergency geotechnical structural construction services contract was awarded on a competitive basis in the amount of $287,758 even, with the not to exceed amount of $350,000 even to Mike Perlage and Sons Incorporated for the Hollywood Boulevard Bulkhead project. The contract consisted of approximately 40 feet long bulkhead composed of steel I-beams, precast concrete panels, as well as approximately 2,800 square feet of asphalt concrete pavement, as well as 75 lineal feet of concrete curb and gutter and 60 lineal feet of metal beam guardrail. The project had two change orders that increased the contract amount by $62,098.56, bringing the total amount of the project to $349,856.56. The majority of the change order work was due to removal and haul away of accumulated dirt from the opposite side of the street and replacement of an additional 1,200 square feet of AC pavement due to its condition. There were no funds disputed or withheld, therefore no funds are due the contractor. The funds were provided in SB 1 Road and Maintenance Rehabilitation Fund, fund number 59V as in Victor. The contractors complied with the equal employment opportunity requirements of the contract, as well as due to the specific nature of this emergency work, there's no specific diversity participation levels that were achieved. There were no unresolved property owners' complaints in connection with this project, and that concludes my report on this. You're muted, President Good.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, colleagues? All right, do I have a motion to move this contract acceptance forward?
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you, Vice President Garcia. Moving with a second from President Pro Tem Davis. Any objections, Colosa or Villegas? All right, hearing no objections. Item 13 is adopted and approved forthwith. That brings us to 14, contract acceptance, sidewalk repair program, small sidewalk repair access request acceleration package number 10. We're recommending the board accept this contract work order E1908709. Take it away, Ms. Wiles.
Yes, Seppi Wiles, Bureau of Contract Administration, again requesting the board accept this contract. This package 10 of the small sidewalk repair was awarded to Alameda Construction Services in March 10 of last year in the amount of $55,643.59, with a not to exceed amount of $99,999. The project constructed 200 lineal feet of concrete curb and gutter, 200 lineal feet of concrete sidewalk, and 2 driveways in both council districts 8 and 14. There was one change order issued to the contract, increasing the amount by $27,901.65, bringing the total amount of this project to $83,545.24. The additional change order was due to additional sidewalk added to the project. Final corrections were completed on August 11, 2020, and the funding was through the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Program, Fund number 59V. Alameda has met all of the EEO requirements of the project, and there was no specific diversity participation established due to the small dollar value of this contract. There were no unresolved property complaints or disputed funds withheld. In connection with the project, therefore, there's no funds due the contractor. And this also concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wiles. Any questions or comments, colleagues? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Garcia hit it first. Then seconds from Davis and Colosa. So much enthusiasm about closing contracts. And
I didn't signal. I was laughing. That was Commissioner Villegas.
Oh, okay, Villegas, I'm sorry. Okay, so the enthusiasm actually confused me. So, any concerns, Colosa?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Hearing no concerns or objections, item number 15. Item number 14. Thank you, Ms. Wiles. Ms. Wiles is keeping me on task. Item 14 is adopted and approved forthwith. Thank you very much, Ms. Wiles.
Thank you.
All right, colleagues. I have to step away for the remainder of the meeting, handing over the proverbial virtual gavel to Vice President Garcia. And you're in probably better hands than you were in before. So, Vice President Garcia, take it away. Colleagues, talk to you all later. And everyone else, thank you all. Have great weekends, okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy Spain, okay?
Yes.
Good luck, President.
All right.
See you later. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. Well, good afternoon. I will be just finishing up the last items that we have on our agenda. Dr. Campos, just to confirm the items we still have are you ready?
Yes, the items that are still pending before your board is item 15, 18, 19, 20, and 21.
Perfect. That's what I have too as well. Okay, we'll go in chronological order, and then hopefully we'll get through. All right. So, colleagues, are we ready? We'll start with item number 15. This is in Council District 1. This is a revised task order solicitation number 13, WSP USA Inc. for the Taylor Yard G2 parcel implementation plan site assessments and interim development design services. Recommending the board to 1, authorize the city engineer to issue a revision of the task order number 13 to WSP USA Inc., increasing the budget authority from $3,428,631 to $4,090,631 for environmental services for the Paseo del Rio project for the Taylor Yard G2 parcel implementation plan, site assessment, and interim development design service project. W.O. E1908260 C-129665. Who do we have here presenting on this item? Oh, looks like Mr. Powell.
Yep, that would be me. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, board members and commissioners. Brian Powell from the Bureau of Engineering, Clean Water Division. I'm here on behalf of Chris Johnson. He's on a wonderful vacation in Hawaii. So we'll let him enjoy that. So we're here to request authorization to issue a task order revision to WSP USA, again, to increase their budget authority from $3,428,631 to $4,090,631 for additional environmental services associated with the Paseo del Rio and Taylor Yard G2 projects. Just to provide a brief background, on October 20th, 2017, the board previously authorized the issuance of a task order to WSP for the development of a project implementation feasibility report and for site assessments and coordination with the Department of Toxic Substances Control. Additionally, on April 10th, 2020, the board also authorized a previous revision to task order solicitation number 13 to WSP to increase the budget authority for additional 2019 engineering support, early activation program design support services, and habitat and biodiversity metric support. Also, another bit of background here, on January 10th, 2020, the City of Los Angeles executed a letter of intent to establish the 100-acre partnership with the California Department of Parks and Recreation and the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority, with the ultimate goal of working together to develop a 100-acre project comprised of the G2 parcel, the state-owned G1 parcel, as well as the state-owned Rio de Los Angeles State Park, and this is all in Cypress Park, the Cypress Park area of Council District 1. So as a result of the 100-acre partnership, the first project to be delivered collaboratively will be the Paseo del Rio project at Taylor Yard G2. This project will consist of approximately 1 mile greenway spanning both G1 and G2 along the river's edge. This will include trails, restoration of native habitat, water quality improvement features, green space, a kayak launch and landing, as well as gathering spaces, outdoor classrooms, and amenities like parking, additional parking, restrooms, lighting, and interpretive signage. So this task order revision includes a number of additional tasks. For one, to keep the G2 parcel in compliance with the California Department of Toxic Substances Control, and to facilitate the development of the Paseo del Rio project amongst the 100-acre partnership. So the first task that's included in the revision is a yearly application of a dust suppressant, which helps us mitigate the potential for migration of contaminated fugitive dust from G2 to the surrounding area. And this will be for the next 2 years, one application in 2021 and another in 2022. Again, this is an action that is required per the voluntary cleanup agreement entered into by the city with the California Department of Toxic Substances Control for the G2 parcel. The second task is a collaborative task with the California Department of Parks and Recreation, and this is for the G1 parcel, also known as the Bowtie parcel, and we're going to facilitate the preparation of a voluntary cleanup agreement with the Department of Toxic Substances Control and the preparation of environmental site investigations work plan and the conceptual remediation design for the larger Bowtie design. So the Bowtie design in collaboration with the G2 project along with the Rio de Los Angeles State Park, again, equals the 100-acre park. The next task that is included in this task order revision is work to prepare a human health risk assessment, a response plan, and conceptual remediation design for the Paseo del Rio project, which again will span G1 and G2. And this is in close coordination with a future designer for Paseo del Rio, as well as, again, the California Department of Toxic Substances Control. Finally, this revision also includes a budget for WSP to participate in any future community meetings as needed for Paseo del Rio and for the G2 parcel as a whole. So the budget increase here is funded in part by $580,000 from a Proposition 1 grant issued by the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy. This application was jointly applied by the city, the BOE, and as well as the California Department of Parks and Recreation. The remaining funds for this task order revision comes from $52,000 and a separate $30,000 from a 2019 and a 2020 Environmental Protection Agency Brownfield Cleanup Grant. That grant was applied for by the Bureau of Sanitation with the intended to be used on G2. And just to wrap up here, the revised task order solicitation, for the revised task order solicitation, WSP has pledged a minority business enterprise percentage of 15.18%, for women's business enterprise 4.41%, small business enterprise 19.99%, emerging business enterprise 2.45%, disabled veterans business enterprise of 1.05%. As of their latest invoice, they are achieving a minority business enterprise percentage of 21.83%, women's business enterprise of 6.51%, small business enterprise of 29.02%, emerging business enterprise for 8.28%, and disabled veterans business enterprise for 1.15%. And this concludes my oral presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Powell. I appreciate your report. Very thorough. I'm going to pass it on to my colleagues, see if they have any questions. Commissioner Villegas, any questions?
Thank you. I appreciate it, Commissioner Garcia. Thank you for your report, Mr. Powell. It was very thorough. I like that this project is moving forward. I did want to state, just for the record, I no longer serve for one of the OBEs that's listed on this project, so I don't want anybody to think that there's a conflict. For Mujeres de la Tierra, beautiful, wonderful organization. I just stepped off the board, just personal, too much stuff going on. But I'm glad to see that they're a partner here with this project on a significant amount of outreach that's been done as well. Congratulations. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Colosa, any questions?
No questions for me. I thought Mr. Powell did a great job channeling Mr. Smith from Hawaii. So I'm glad this is moving forward. And I know a lot of people are really excited about Taylor Yard in general. So thank you for your work on this, Mr. Powell.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. Dr. Davis, any questions? You're on mute, though, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Brian, for a great report and support the effort that we are implementing there with the partners of the state. You said the state parks is the partner with you on this project. Is that correct?
Correct. They're one of the three partners amongst the partnership.
And so the first phase of the project that you have talked about that is adjacent at the end of the river is one among many other phases that you're going to implement, correct, in the future?
That is correct. This is the first project that has originated as part of the conceptual designs, and there will be more to come, but this is the first phase.
Well, we've always heard our leaders in City Council and in the Mayor's office talk about the value and the importance of open space and park land. So you, I think, have done a great job, and I'm very happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Mr. Powell, I don't have any, I do have a question. When are we expected for this project to begin?
So this task order is a separate support effort, but we do still need to hire the consultant designer for the Paseo del Rio project. So we are, the gears are just starting to turn there. We anticipate having a new task order solicitation out to hire that consultant this summer. And so we anticipate about a 2-year design process from pre-design to design, and then getting into construction. So we anticipate that this park will be completed sometime in 2024 to 2025.
Okay, nice. Completed 2024 and 2025.
Right.
That's good to hear. Good. Last question, Mr. Powell. Where are you? Where is your background at?
That is that's the Albion Riverside Park, which I worked on as a younger engineer. That's in Lincoln Heights.
Yes, I'm familiar with it. I just couldn't figure it out where we were. All right, very nice. Thank you so much. All right, commissioners, do I hear a motion to move this item forward?
So move. Second.
Second, first by Commissioner Colosa, second by Commissioner
Villegas.
Davis. Oh, it was Villegas?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. That's the screen. Why are people moving around in the screen? I don't understand. All right. Okay, it was Commissioner Villegas first and second by Dr. Davis. Any objections, Commissioner Colosa? None? Hearing none, this item is now adopted and set forthwith. All right, Mr. Powell, you're free to go. Good weekend. Have a good weekend.
See you.
You
Bye.
too. All right. All right, colleagues, that takes us to number 18. This is number 18. This is an administrative item. This is in Council District 6. This is a specification submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids. This is in the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plan, Japanese Garden, American Disability Act Compliance, CIP 8654. This is a rebid, a W.0 SGD 00013, estimated to be $989,000. Bid receipt date July 14, 2021. Dr. Davis, we don't have anybody on this item, right?
No presenters on this item. This item is an administrative item.
Got it. All right. Is there anybody to second my motion to move this item forward?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. There's a first by me and second by Dr. Davis. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas or Commissioner Pelosa? Sounds like none. With that, this item now moves forward, adopted and set forthwith. All right. Thank you. Moving on to number 19. This is in Council District 14. This is the mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works to execute amendment number 5 and budget increase to the contract with 5 Key Schools and Program Services in Council District 14. Reference number Board of Public Works -2021-0190. Again, there's nobody to present on this item. Is there a second to move my motion forward?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Dr. Davis. With that, mine on the first, second, Dr. Davis. Any objections, commissioners? Actually, you know what? I'm so sorry. I haven't even asked if you guys have questions around this. Okay, no questions, no objections. We're all good. Dr. Campos, we're fine?
We are more than fine, yes, perfect.
Okay. Hearing none, this item's now adopted and set forthwith. I gotta make sure I say forthwith because then I get, dinged by not saying it. All right, this is item number 20. Also in Council District 14, the mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works to execute amendment number 2 and budget increase to the contract with Hunters Point Family for the Skid Row Cleaning Program. This is reference number Board of Public Works -2021-0189. Any questions on this item, colleagues? No. All right. Is there a second to my motion to move this item forward?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Davis. First by me. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas or Commissioner Calosa? None. Hearing none, this item is now adopted and set forthwith. All right, we're on a roll, you guys. All right, 21. Oh, we are now in number 21. Am I right, Dr. Campos? All right. And today here this is a status update on major upcoming street improvement projects for the Bureau of Street Services. And today I take it, Mr. Watson here with us?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Vice President Garcia.
Thank you. Watson. All yours. I thank you for waiting for us.
Not a problem. Okay, so good afternoon again to the commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Dr. Campos. My name is George Watson, Superintendent with the Streets Renewal Division of Streets LA. This information is being provided to keep the public informed on the upcoming resurfacing projects and to minimize the impact on the community as well as delays. For additional information or concerns, you can contact Coordinating Section for Streets Renewal Division at 213-847-3200. There are no major street projects scheduled in the Metro and Valley region during the week of May the 30th through June the 5th. During the week of May the 30th through June the 5th, the Valley and Metro region will complete 26 projects for a total of 14.42 lane miles. The press release were distributed and notification has been issued. Streets LA has coordinated with the council office to assist with the outreach to the stakeholders. We have coordinated with the Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. This information is also available on the Streets LA website, streetsla.lacity.org, using the Resurfacing Open Project icon. This concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Watson, for your report. Any questions, commissioners, to Mr. Watson? No, we're excited you guys are out there. Yay.
We're happy
for the report.
Yeah, thank you for that. All right. It seems like that is the end of today's agenda.
Wow.
And we are done, you guys. It's not 4 o'clock either. It's 1 o'clock.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah, we get to have an afternoon. Everybody gets to have an afternoon. Yay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for this. Ted, enjoy your time. Other than that, have a good weekend, everyone. Commissioners and Dr. Campos, please stay on for a short management meeting. Other than that, everyone else, have a good weekend. We'll see you all next Wednesday.
Great.
Commissioners, just give me a few minutes to turn off the systems, please.